Hello, and welcome to Delves In, where we delve in to spooky creepypastas and crazy Reddit stories. I am Delve, this is The Great Catsby, and we thank you for checking in with us. We hope you enjoy your stay, and without further ado, we've got some pretty interesting stories lined up for you. We've got one really short one and one about 10-minute one. Hopefully that'll fill the time. Nice and quick. But if not, obviously, we'll pull something else out of our ass. But we're done wasting everybody's time. Let's just get right into the MF story. So we've got World's Best School Psychologist. This came out February 13th, 2020. It has an 8.95 out of 10 with 694 votes. So this is a pretty good one. It's a pretty good one.
Supposedly. Allegedly.
Let's see. Let's find the author. I don't like that they put the author at like the bottom sometimes. Credit is Creepy Carbs on Reddit. So I think you should read this one because this is the one that you wanted to read.
Okay.
Is that font big enough? You want me to zoom in?
Zoom in, please.
She got bad eyes, chat. Bad eyes. Bad eyes.
When I was 12, I came to the conclusion that everyone in the world, including my own family, was against me. I was never a problem child, but my parents sure treated me like one. For example, I used to need to be home by 5 p.m. every day. This clearly restricted my amount of playtime.
Quilly.
This clearly restricted my amount of playtime outdoors. I wasn't allowed to have friends over to play at the house, nor was I allowed to go over to anyone else's. I had to finish homework directly after I came home from school, no matter how long it took. My parents refused to buy me video games and forced me to read books and then write a book report on them to prove I actually read it. That sucks. Now, even though those rules listed above were quite frustrating to me as a child, they aren't what upset me the most. What really hurt me was the lack of compassion on behalf of my parents. My mother was a bitter woman who always made me feel guilty about accidents or mistakes I've made. My father only knew one emotion: frustration. The only time he spoke to me was when he screamed at me for receiving poor test scores or beat me for misbehaving. But enough about them. Let's talk about my school psychologist. For his own privacy, we will call him Dr. Tanner. Like most junior high schools, a psychologist is always available on campus during school hours to assist any students in need of counseling, whether it is emotional, academic, social, behavioral, etc. Did you have this at your school?
Yeah.
We did too.
Yeah.
Shout out Mr. Johnson.
I will say this. No one respected them.
Really?
Yeah.
We really respected ours.
Yeah.
He was cool as shit.
We had a couple of like guidance counselors.
Yeah.
Obviously. But they were all like, not to shit on teachers, or particularly female teachers, but they all sort of have the same solution to the problem. So like no matter what your problem was, their solution was just like, well, why don't you just come sit on a beanbag and tell me about it? And that almost never actually solved anyone's problems. So I mean, we had free access to them. You can use them whenever you want, but usually the only thing that they would do was sit you on a beanbag and just be like, tell me what's going on at home.
Yeah.
And you're like, life sucks and everything's shitty. I don't want to kill myself.
I'm an angsty teen.
Yeah. And then they'll just be like, oh, well, here's some ginger ale and some crackers. You need to get back to class now. And it's like, no, thanks, dude.
Yeah.
So what'd you say, Johnson? What was his name?
Mr. Johnson.
How was Mr. Johnson?
He was really cool. He didn't give a shit when you walked in, when you needed him, what kind of emotional state you were in. He, of course, led you through, talking about whatever it was, but he never forced us to go back to class or...
Yeah.
Or, feel the need to report back to our teachers all the time about stuff or call our parents for every little thing. He was super, super chill.
What was, if you don't mind me asking, how many kids were in your graduating class?
I want to say 500. I went to a big school.
Okay.
5 to 700, I think.
Okay. Not that I actually graduated, but ours was about that size too.
Oh, really?
So I was just wondering.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I actually... Never mind, I can't tell a story here.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, I can, but this is the wrong episode. All right, we're going to do a hard cut. This is going to go in the previous episode.
Okay.
Okay.
To be honest, I had never seen any students talking with Dr. Tanner. Every day I would walk past his office on my way to the cafeteria and peek through his door's little window. He would always be alone in there working on some paperwork. I guess that most kids were too afraid to speak about their problems to an adult who was practically a stranger. For this reason, it took me 3 weeks to muster enough courage, to go into his office. March 2nd, 1993 was the day I decided to voice my troubles to Dr. Tanner. During lunch break, I stood in front of his office door and knocked. Through the window, I could see him raise his head, smile, and motion for me to come in. I did. He greeted me by introducing himself and asked for my name. Dr. Tanner was a very soft-spoken man who seemed to radiate kindness. In less than 30 minutes, I rambled to Dr. Tanner about how mean my parents were to me and how they didn't care about me at all. After a while, my voice began to quiver and I stopped speaking. The psychologist listened patiently to my whole spiel, arms folded and head nodding. I half expected him to begin talking about how everything I had just said was untrue and that my parents loved me dearly and blah blah blah, but he didn't. Dr. Tanner leaned towards me with a grin on his face and said, "You know, I'm the best school psychologist in the world. I promise I will fix this.
I promise we will fix this."
I promise we will fix this.
I kind of like where this is going.
Where do you think it's going?
I think the psychologist is going to show up with a hammer to the parents' house and just go ape shit on them. And he's going to go back to the kid like, "Don't worry, your parents can't be mean to you anymore because I turned them into pulp."
Into mush.
Yeah.
I rolled my eyes. "Okay, but how?" I asked. "I have my ways," he replied. "I'm a man of my word. I promise that within just 1 month, the relationship between you and your parents will change for the better. Forever." After a brief pause, he continued, "Although, I do need you to make me a promise.
Okay. I like where this is going.
You have to promise me that you'll come back to my office after school tomorrow and that you won't tell anyone that we had this conversation today. It'll be our little secret. I promised."
All right. Now I'm getting scared. This is going to get a little...
This is going to get a little creepy.
I think this is going to get pederasty.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
The following day, I returned to Dr. Tanner after school. It was around 4 p.m. when I entered his office. After a warm welcome, he asked me to have a seat in front of his desk once again. Upon sitting down, I watched Dr. Tanner close the blinds of the door's tiny window. "There," he smiled. "Now we have all the privacy we need."
Stop.
We began to talk about my likes and interests, my favorite subjects in school, my least favorite teachers, and things of the like. About an hour into the conversation, Dr. Tanner offered me a soft drink.
Uh-oh.
I gladly took the offer, considering my parents never allowed me to drink soda. Dr. Tanner reached over to his mini fridge and fidgeted around.
No.
Damn it.
No.
Before setting down 2 open cans of soda on the desk. Afterwards, we continued to talk about what was going on in my life, but it wasn't long before I passed out from whatever drugs Dr. Tanner placed in my drink. Yeah, dude.
We keep getting tracked with pedophiles. Every time we find like a cool story, it's like psychological thriller, blah, blah, blah. Always. Which I guess it is the school psychologist. Could have filled that in.
Certified lover boy.
Can I just say, I'm going to interrupt this, by the way. She requested this.
Hold on.
We were looking at categories on Creepypasta website, and she's like, "I want to do kidnappings and disappearances."
Okay. That's the category. That's a very broad category.
Well, this kid has been napped, and he's about to get...
She.
Is it a she?
It's a she. Right?
I don't know.
I'm reading this from a girl's perspective.
I'm reading this from a guy's perspective.
Lovely.
I guess we'll find out.
I was handcuffed to a bed, and my mouth was sealed with duct tape. I immediately began to panic, squirming, and tugged at the cuffs, but gave up soon after. My eyes widened in disbelief after looking around the room. There were posters of superheroes pinned up along the walls and photographs of famous athletes on shelves. In the middle of the room was an old television and Super Nintendo. Various game cartridges stacked alongside it. I didn't know what to think. Here I am in a room filled with items most kids would die to play with. I would have probably cried from joy if I hadn't been handcuffed to a bed frame. My stomach sank once again as the door opened and Dr. Tanner walked inside. He sat down on the edge of the bed. "Now listen," he said. "Remember that I'm here to help you and I would never hurt you. Okay?" Dr. Tanner gently removed the duct tape from my mouth and then the cuffs from my hands. My first instinct was to begin crying, but something about Dr. Tanner made me feel safe. He smiled at me. "You're going to be staying here for a while," he continued, "and during this time, you're allowed to play with any toys in this room while I'm here at home. But when I leave the house, I'll need to cuff one of your hands back to the bed. You can still watch the television, but I want you to only watch the news channels while I'm away."
Yeah, he's going to kill his parents while he's home.
I sat in silence, still trying to process the information he had given me. "So," Dr. Tanner yipped, slapping me on the knee, "you go ahead and knock yourself out. I'll be back when it's time for dinner." He got up from the bed, walked across the room, and clicked the TV's power button before locking the door behind him. Several more minutes passed before I realized that Dr. Tanner wasn't joking. He's absolutely not joking.
Yeah. Well,
You got drugged.
Well, he probably assumed there's going to be some, other activities at play here, but he just left him with the games. You know what this reminds me of?
What?
Do you remember in season 4 of Dexter when the Trinity Killer abducts the little kid?
Yeah.
And he makes him play with the trains and shit?
basement?
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's kind of what's reminding me of.
Okay. It's fair. All that was left for me to do was boot up the Nintendo and play Mario until nightfall.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, the amount of nights that I've done that shit.
Dude, 1993 is like peak 2D Mario too. Like that Super Mario
yeah.
World, that's Yoshi's Island.
Mm-hmm.
There's some fucking nice ass games.
At about 7 p.m., Dr. Tanner returned to the room carrying 2 plates of mashed potatoes and chicken strips. W dinner.
That was
I finally gathered up the courage to ask him how long I'd been staying in this room. "Well, about a month," he replied. "Give or take a few weeks. I just had some work I need to do." That happened fast.
No, I think he was saying, how long will I be? Yeah, I'd be staying in the room.
Okay. The following morning, I woke to Dr. Tanner's hand patting on my head. "Hey, bud. You don't have to wake up right now if you don't want. But I am going to need to put this back on," he whispered, clamping the cold steel handcuff onto my wrist. I gazed up at him. He was wearing a collared shirt and slacks, a coat draped over his shoulder, and a suitcase at his side. He looked just how he always did when I saw him around school. Before leaving, he placed the TV's remote next to me and told me to turn it on and watch the news. First thing I saw upon turning it on was breaking news segment. An important looking police officer stood at a podium surrounded by people with microphones. I happened to begin viewing halfway through his speech. "A statewide Amber Alert has been issued as of this morning. We have several investigators working towards identifying potential abductors, but as of right now, there is not much evidence. Faculty members state that the boy," it is a boy, "had been last seen around 4 or 5 in the evening on." I began to feel nauseous as a photograph of me appeared on the screen. It was my yearbook picture from last year. Captions for the photo displayed my name and age, my school, and my town. Above my picture were alternating titles. "FBI begins search for child and kidnapping. Suspect unknown and potential runaway."
Also, how did this psychiatrist drug the kid and then get him out of the school?
Maybe he has access to cameras or knows where there are no cameras.
But it's a school. Like, where is an exit that somebody wouldn't see him leave with a drugged child? Unless, I guess, he went out of the window and his window happened to be right in front of his car.
I don't know. I saw this murder story about a student that killed a teacher and put her in a garbage can and rolled her out.
Wow.
And that's how no one knew that she had died yet.
Shit, okay.
and she was discovered later.
That's impressive.
Not saying that that's what this teacher necessarily did, but
Yeah, I mean, not that
there could be a way.
Yeah, not that it's like not that it's an important detail or like takes me out of the story any, but I was curious. Interesting.
The live footage continued, and two figures I soon recognized as my mom and dad stepped into the podium. Both appeared to have reddened eyes. Tears streamed down my mother's face as she took hold of a microphone. I see this going three ways.
I think I'm picking up what you're about to put down.
1, he kills the parents.
Yeah.
2, it's classified as a runaway, and this kid can live their life without their parents. 3, this is some kind of lesson to teach the child to have appreciation for their parents.
Really? Because I was thinking similarly, but the other way. So this is some sort of a lesson for the parents to be appreciative of their child. Like, hey, your kid's been kidnapped. Maybe don't treat him like shit. Let him drink soda every once in a while and buy him a Nintendo. You know what I mean?
Fair. So, like, when they return back home after going missing, their whole life is going to change.
Yeah.
Because,
the parents are going to treat them kind of like royalty, give them a welcome home, celebrate, shit like that.
Which, like...
Not a bad plan.
Not a bad plan, not a bad lesson.
Yeah.
Because you can use that lesson for everything. Like, appreciate the ones that you love.
Yeah.
You know?
Definitely. Don't take things for granted.
Yeah.
It's a good lesson. And I'm kind of... As long as this kid doesn't get diddled, W psychiatrist. Like, he might be the best psychiatrist in the world. He might be right.
He might be
So
right.
if that's the direction this story goes, with a wholesome ending like that, big fan.
I had never seen so much emotion coming from my mother as she wept on live television, stuttering on sentences such as, "Please return my baby back to me, and I'm so sorry, please come home to us." When my father took the microphone, I nearly expected his attitude to be stone cold, but he too had tears in his eyes. He pleaded to the world to bring his son home safely and lastly begged for my forgiveness. I know I haven't been the best father, but god damn it, I wish I had been now. Please bring my boy back. I turned the power off shortly after. My emotions were mixed as I had never once seen my father cry. I felt miserable that my parents were being put through so much, but at the same time, I felt relief. I now know how much my mom and my dad love me. Nearly 4 weeks have passed, and Dr. Tanner has been treating me with the utmost respect. He leaves me in the morning cuffed to the bed frame, but returns in the afternoon to eat lunch and dinner with me, talk, and play games. I never would have guessed how good Dr. Tanner was at Monopoly and Scrabble. But once Dr. Tanner woke me before heading off to work, I noticed a stern look on his face. I also realized that it was 3 hours earlier than he usually wakes me. "You need to watch the news today. No exceptions. I want you to keep the television on all day and pay close attention to it," he said grimly. I, of course, complied and watched him exit the room. About 2 hours later, a breaking news segment interrupted the toothpaste commercial I was watching. The title: Human Remnants Found.
Ah, fuck.
Two staunch-looking men in suits stood aside one another and began speaking. "We are displeased to bring up such unfortunate news this morning regarding our missing child case from earlier this month." One of the men bowed his head while the other, speaking, shuffled through some papers. He continued, "Remains of a body have been found in a garbage bag beneath the highway overpass. The body appears to be that of a child, although not much of it is left. The body has been decapitated, and much had been burnt to ash and bone." The screen shifted over to a helicopter view of the freeway. Dozens of police cars gathered near the bottom of a tall overpass. The man's voice could still be heard. Within the bag, police found a junior high school identification card labeled as such. The screen showed the school ID card I had always kept in my backpack. The plastic was sort of melted away, but my photograph and name were intact. After the two men dismissed themselves, the camera panned over to my parents. They were sitting among reporters. My mother's face held a painful grimace, and my father's sulked his head down at his knees. I shut the television off. Where'd my man get bones?
Well, yeah, that's kind of the problem. Did he kill another kid to help this one kid?
Dr. Tanner returned home very late. He hurried into the room, unlocked my cuffs, and placed a bottle of fizzing water into my hand. He placed his hands on my shoulder and smiled. I made you a promise, didn't I? I nodded, tears squeezing their way out of my eyes. You need to make me a promise again, he whispered. He told me that I needed to drink all the water in the bottle. It would help me sleep. And that from here on, I am never to tell anyone that I ever met him. I promised. I told you I'm the best school psychologist in the world, didn't I?
Yeah.
And he was right. I awoke later that night to find myself lying in the middle of a park, stars shining brilliantly across the night sky. I recognized the park. It wasn't too far from my school. A mile or so down the road, I saw my house. The lights were off inside, but I could make out my father sitting on the step leading to the front door. I hesitantly called out to him. He lifted his head slowly, but when he saw it was me, he sprang to his feet, ran towards me, arms open, yelling my name. My mother erupted from the house behind him. Dr. Tanner was right. Things have changed with my family and I. My parents smile more often and treat me lovingly. I could not ask for a more perfect ending. Every now and then I see Dr. Tanner on campus walking to and from his office. Rarely do we ever make eye contact, let alone speak to one another. But sometimes he'll shoot me a wink and smile. I'll always keep my promise to him and pretend I never met him. But there will always be one question forever floating in my mind. Who did Dr. Tanner decapitate and throw off the overpass?
Damn good story, dude.
That was really good.
Damn good. Dude.
I liked that a lot.
That was a really solid story. I almost want to say, like, one of the few horror stories where there's a happy ending.
Totally.
Like, that's, I mean, obviously ignoring that very last sentence. Pretty happy.
Whoever did get decapitated,
Yeah.
But...
Which is funny because there's a whole other horror story describing Dr. Tanner stalking a child, cutting him into pieces and burning him and throwing off an overpass.
Is there really?
No.
Oh.
I'm saying they're, I mean, they're spiritually is,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Damn, dude, that's really well done. Dude, shout out to Creepy Carbs, man. 8.9, that deserves a fucking 10.
I think so too.
There's no fat on this story. It is told incredibly well. It has a fantastic narrative. Good moral.
Yeah.
And only one person died.
And only one person died.
Which, you know, considering, pretty good. I thought it was a fucking damn good story, man. Dude, that was a good pick.
You're welcome.
Yeah, no one got molested, so good aim.
I forgive you.
Fair enough. All right, let's see. We're at 31 minutes, so we got time for one more little sneaky story. So this one's called The Med Student. This one was from July 18th, 2008.
Wow.
This is almost a 20-year story.
It's a little old.
It's a little old. It is as old as my... That's not true. My youngest sister was 08. But almost. Now, this has a 3.96 out of 10 from 621 votes. So, bit of a shitter. It's a 1-minute read. Let's see if there's an author. There is...
Not.
What the hell? Oh, I'm sorry. This is a paragraph long. We totally got pranked. 1-minute read. An unpopular young med student had been particularly annoying one day, and some of her classmates decided to play a trick on her. They snuck into her room after she'd gone to bed and placed an amputated arm into bed with her. The next morning, they anxiously awaited her reaction, but got none. Eventually, they went to check on her and found her sitting on the bed, moaning and gurgling as she gnawed on the arm. All right. That made my stomach hurt.
That made your stomach hurt?
Tummy hurt.
That was funny.
That was funny. Where'd the accent come from, dude? Are you mocking my culture?
That was funny.
All right, I'm going to click random story.
The page doesn't exist.
Looks like the link pointing here was faulty. Maybe try searching. Why don't you fuck off? Top ranked. Famous creepypastas? Come on, I need like a 2-minute story. This was a 4. Let's go. Okay. Knock, knock. December 1st, 2014. Good year. What was the best year you've been alive?
Probably 2015.
2015?
Mm-hmm.
How old were you at that point?
18.
Okay. Yeah, I'd probably do 2011, 2012, somewhere in there.
Well,
Halo Reach and Black Ops 1 were at their height in 2011, 2012. It's just a good year over. I was in 6th or 7th grade.
yeah.
That was my best. I peaked in middle school. Can you tell?
Like, I would say when I was like 14, 15, but I just had way more free will as an 18-year-old.
True.
And I was out of school. But I had more fun when I was 14, 15.
Definitely.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. You get more freedom at 18, but you have less responsibility at 14.
Yeah, for sure.
So.
I'll still say 2015.
Word. That was a good year, dude. You know what came out in 2015? Rainbow Six Siege.
Nice.
All right, sorry. Gay. Battlefield 4 came out in 2014. All right, so this is Knock Knock, December 1st, 2014. 4.84 out of 10 with 1,100 votes. A lot of people have read this story. Credit to Frank Oys. FRANK0YS. Summer. For someone living in a tropical country, it means unbearable heat and humidity, even at night. I was on vacation and staying at my uncle's house. His house is situated in a low hill along the border of the town. They're not really isolated as they got neighbors along the way going to the top of the hill. It was my 5th day staying there, and my usual habit after dinner is to go outside in the front yard and smoke. It is much cooler there. Every now and then a small breeze will come, relieving me from the irritating heat. From where I stand, you can see the other side of the hill dotted with white things with crosses. Yes, those are graves, and that part of the hill is a cemetery. Other people might get scared or uneasy being outside at night in full view of a cemetery a stone's throw away, but I'm not. I've gotten used to it, and it's not really that unsettling as the first night I was there. What? I have gotten used to it, and it's not really that unsettling as the first night I was there. So there I was, smoking, and halfway through my cigarette, I saw the front door opened. You might think I got scared by then, but I was not. I just stood there calmly, looking at the open door, and after a few seconds, it closed. I didn't pay much attention to what happened and go on smoking. Is it just me, or does this feel like somebody who wrote this and had to translate it to English? Like, it feels like this was written in Spanish and they had to Google translate it. Because that sentence reads, if I'm not mistaken, I just stood there calmly looking at the open door, and after a few seconds it closed. I didn't pay much attention to what happened and go on smoking.
Yeah.
Like, that's an incorrect sentence.
Yes. Or it's just a young person that wrote it.
But even then, like, I didn't pay much attention to what happened and go on smoking. I don't know, that seems like more words. Like, if it was a young person, I feel like they would have, like, said, like, kept on smoking. Like, go on smoking seems like a foreigner saying that.
Okay, fair.
A minute passed, and by then the door opened again and closed. Still unnerved by that second instance, I finished my cigarette and went inside the house. On the hallway, I saw my uncle's maid sweeping the floor. I approached her and asked, "Did you just open the door a while ago?" "Yes," she replied. "Why?" I asked again. "Someone was knocking, so I opened the door, but no one came in. They even knocked twice." I just stood there, looking puzzled at her. Then we both heard it as someone's knuckle rapped on the door. Knock, knock.
I think what was it rated?
A fucking 4.84?
It needs to be a 2.84.
Yeah, 2, for sure. We need to get into the habit of reading the shitty stories first.
Yeah.
Because we got to end on the better ones. Because this was so... Not only was it, like, poorly written, but also bad premise. You know, like, you remember that Jin story we read? I think it was episode 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Like, that had an interesting premise, but it was just kind of, like, fell flat.
It was, yeah.
Like, they didn't do enough with the concept, I didn't think.
Yeah.
This is just bad concept, bad writing.
Yeah, agreed.
So, let's read a comment. Maybe that'll redeem the end of the episode. Who was not? There's a few grammatical errors, but other than that, it was great, and I would like to see a part 2. All right, Creepypasta fan. I like the idea, hun, but there's no build-up, and we don't know enough about the character to care about what's going on to happen to him. It's got bones. No, it doesn't. This is all right, but it could be better. I mean, I like that everyone's being very, like, constructive in the comments.
It was an interesting idea, but lazily thrown together.
I guess. Don't let the negative comments get you down. I actually enjoyed the image of you outside looking across that cemetery hill. What? Dude. How old is this story? 2014? Yeah. You know, that's not very good. All right, well, I think we've hit our quota. Any final words to say about either story?
No.
All right, me neither. Thanks for watching, everybody. Tune in to the next episode. Leave a like if you enjoyed either of the stories. Deuces.